Proportions and variation. Proportions are often used in geometry applications. For example, foresters will use a cruising timber stick called a hypsometer. This helps them to estimate the height of a tree so they can figure the board feet timber in a stand. The hypsometer is just a simple use of proportions. Wildlife biologists use proportions when observing species so they can estimate populations of those species. This way they just have to take a small sample and they can figure out the larger population by an estimate. The language of a proportion looks something like this. 5 is to 8 as 9 is to x. Here we'll write a proportion that models this situation. So the way we'll write this is 5 is to 8 as 9 is to x. So the first number that is mentioned is the numerator, the second one the denominator. As is going to be our equals. 9 is the first number mentioned, so it's the numerator, and x is the second number mentioned, so it's the denominator. Now let's go ahead and solve this proportion for x. We can multiply both sides by 8x if you'd like, or we can just cross multiply. If we cross multiply, we get 5x is 72. Then I divide by 5, and I get x is 72 fifths. A triangle has sides of 4, 7, and 10. In a similar triangle, the shortest side is 8, and the longest side is x. So when we're doing a problem like this, we can go ahead and model with a drawing. It doesn't have to be exact. We have a triangle with sides 4, 7, and 10. A similar triangle has the shortest side of 8, so this would be the 8. Since this is the shortest side, this is the shortest side of this one. And the longest side is x. So let's figure out what that x is. Here it's pretty easy. We can go 4 is to 8 as 10 is to x. We're just doubling. Apparently my x is going to be 20. But let's go ahead and set this up so that we can work a harder problem later. 4 is to 10 as 8 is to x. Then we cross multiply. 4x is 80. Then we're going to divide by 4, and as we thought, we get x equals 20. Let's say that we have a different situation where we have triangles, something like this. 2, 3.7, and 5. Then we have this other triangle, and its shortest side is, let's say, a 3.9, and we want to figure out what this bottom side is. So we can set up a proportion again. 2 is to 3.7 as 3.9 is to x. And this one's not as easy to guess as this one was, but we can still figure this out using the proportions. So 2 times x is 2x equals, let's grab our calculator here. We've got a 3.7 times 3.9, and that's a 14.43. Then we'll divide by 2, and x equals 7.215. Okay. Here's another use of the proportion. We have MP3 players here. And 3 MP3 players can hold 750 songs, and 7 similar MP3 players can hold how many songs? So let's set up a proportion. 3 is to 750 as 7 is to x. Then we'll cross multiply. 3x equals, we have 7 times 750, and that's 5,250. Then we'll divide by 3, 1750. So if you have 7 similar MP3 players as the first one mentioned, then you should be able to hold 1,750 songs. With this problem, we have the height of a tree that we're trying to estimate. We have a 5-foot tall person standing by the tree, and the sun is shining this way and casts an 8-foot long shadow. This tree here is casting a 30-foot long shadow. So we can set up here a proportion like we did earlier in the lecture. You can see here we have triangles. There's a triangle here, and then we have this shadow here is causing a triangle there. So we have these two triangles. If you want to go ahead and redraw them, we have a 5 and an 8 for the person, and for our tree it's causing a similar triangle because the sun is falling at the same angle for the shadow. We have 30-foot long shadow, and we need to know what the height of that tree is. So we can set up a proportion here. You go 5 is to 8 as h is to 30. Then we can cross multiply. So we have an 8h equals 150. We're going to go ahead and divide by 8, and we get 8 is equal to, let's grab the calculator, we have 150 divided by 8, and get 18.75. So the height is 18.75. This was measured all in feet, so it'll be 18.75 feet. That covers that section. Go ahead and try the homework, and be sure and let me know if you have any questions.